This is the Heavy Boots Podcast, Season 3. My name is Jennie Camille, and I'm your host. This is the podcast where we talk about everything that weighs our boots down. It's been quiet around here lately, not because I had nothing to say, but because there was so much to feel, and so much to process and go through. And I like to come on here when my thoughts are formulated and processed and make some sense. And so it took a while to get to a place where I could come back to this space. I appreciate your patience, and I appreciate you coming back and listening. Today's episode, I want to talk about the butterfly effect. Sometimes I wonder if one thing could have changed, if everything else would be better for it. It's a very interesting topic about the what-ifs in life, so I thought that we would start with that for this season. Let's get into it. Hello there. I hope everyone is doing well and that this year is treating you kind. It has been a very hard year for me so far, and I might get into it, I might not. It was really funny. I went and listened to the last podcast that I did, and I got really choked up because I could already see a difference in myself from that person. That was back in 2023. And, 3 years of time can really change a person. And unfortunately, I've had to do a lot of changing, a lot of growing, and not unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but it's just, I don't know. Everyone says life is so short, and at the pace of struggle, it feels very long for me. And I know that's not a popular opinion. People will tell me how wrong I am if I just choose positivity and all that jazz, but I'm not here to get into all that. But, it's just been a very hard go. And lots of great moments in between, lots of great opportunities and trips and things that I've done that I will cherish and, love forever. There's always bright diamonds throughout. And so that's where it's hard, because I have a Heavy Boots podcast and I write poetry that's really dark, and I'm very sad and brooding, and I can cry at a dime, at the drop of a hat. And I am like an open wound, you could just put salt in me and hurt me at any moment. And I am soft, and I am so grateful that I'm still soft. I'm just so glad. But I am definitely harder to gain access to, I guess. I'm definitely changed since that last podcast. And I just wanted to know, what did I sound like? What was I talking about? And it was deep, deep, deep stuff. And I mean, doesn't even scratch the surface of what I've been through now. And so, like I said, I don't need to go into all that. I have a much more profound awareness of the plane going overhead, if you could hear that. No, but just like the awareness of what is good to talk about and what's not good to talk about. And I don't know. There's just a lot of folks who've been talking bad about people and also telling me what is wrong with me. And it's just, that's just never been my thing. Like, if no one's coming at me with anything, I don't want to sit and talk about people. That's not my thing. Like, I've never been one to gossip and just sit and talk about others. It only comes up when there's drama, when somebody's, you know, usually coming at me. Like my mom says when we're driving in the car, she's like, they're coming at me. But yeah, I don't know. There's just a different theme to life that I'm interested in. If there's not anything going on where, I have to vent to Paul or my mom or my grandma. That's pretty much who I talk to, and my Auntie April, best listener in the entire world. Yeah, and my Uncle Tony too. If I'm not talking to those people about facts and what's going on, I'm not talking about people. It's just not the thing I like to do. And I also don't like to characterize what people are. And I just want everyone to be so happy and just chill and enjoy your life. I don't know why there has to be a problem. It's something that is just driving me insane. I don't know if it's because I'm 45 and I'm getting older, but it's just why does not everyone, why does there need to be a problem, And then I have people pointing at me saying, well, you're creating the problem, whatever, because you reached out for help because you're having a hard time. And so now I have to deal with you. And it's nah, if there's something that I'm dealing with, sure, it's a problem, but it's not a created one. You can ask around. I don't create problems. I try and stay out of them, and eventually I have to set boundaries and, cut people off and stuff, and that sucks, but it takes a long time to get there. And I'm getting way off topic, but it has a lot to do with the topic at hand. We're going to be talking about the butterfly effect, and this is such a crazy concept that I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie with Ashton Kutcher. It is so powerful. It's kind of dark and twisted because it's, the butterfly effect is, let me get my notes here and go into it. It is a concept in the chaos theory, popularized by Edward Lorenz. But basically the idea is that a tiny, insignificant initial change, like a butterfly flapping its wings, if you can picture a butterfly flapping its wings and how little air that would produce, but it can still lead to a massive, unpredictable consequence somewhere else, like a tornado. And so that kind of thought process is butterfly's wings causing a tornado somewhere else. But if that butterfly never flapped his wings, maybe that tornado would have never happened. And that kind of thing just sometimes is so trippy to me because I don't know what anyone believes as far as, do we have control over our destiny? And so that's kind of where we'll probably end up at the end here. But can we influence the path? Can the result of action make an effect? Can it happen? Can you alter that? And since I saw you, there are some things I have to tell you about. I didn't see you since I last spoke with you. I lost my sweet dear Paisley. She got a bacteria in her brain, and we fought like hell to save her. And unfortunately, even though we were so close to her being clean of the bacteria, it took her. And we probably could have tried another round of trying to save her, but we were depleted of all resources. And there wasn't a surety that she'd come out of this seizure well. And I don't know if any of you have had pets with seizures. It's scary. It is so scary. And it is so, when you don't know what's happening, initially it's just wow. And then your sweet girl, she's gotten me through so much that I've talked about on here. She's just been my little angel in life when I went through the shooting and then the car crash and then, then we moved out to the country and then she got sick. And so that's kind of the whole precipice for this episode, is, if we hadn't had the shooting, would the car crash have been so detrimental to me? Because that was so much in 1 year. And then would we had to move out here? And if we hadn't moved out here, Paisley would probably still be alive because she got the bacteria out here. We made her a catio, and somewhere in the mix, either bird feces, which it seemed more like rotting wood was the culprit, or some kind of bacteria that got to her. And so she did, when we got her, when she was, first taken from the shelter, she did have issues with her lungs, and we got her all checked out and, looked at. And so she did have a weakened immune system, but we just took care of her and she was fine. And then when she was here, she had a little bit of a cough and like a wheeze. And so we took her in, and that's when they found bacteria in her lungs. And then they did a CT scan and found it in her brain, because they did the CT scan because the seizures were happening. And so anyways, it was an ordeal. I would do it all over again if she could be here. But ultimately she went to heaven, and it was, really hard on us, and it's not, I'm not over it yet, as you can tell from my tears. I'm not sure you ever really get over anything like that, but it's just that question of if we, if that person didn't shoot up my neighborhood and like that car didn't crash into me and make me so traumatized, would I have ended up out here, and would, my kitty cat still be alive? And so that was where I was coming from. But also, just like anything, like if I would have stayed in school and got my degree, would life be easier right now? And it's just funny because I have those thoughts all the time. What if this had occurred? That's my new expression lately. I don't know what it is. I don't know where I got it from, but every time something happens and I'm like, trying to figure it out, I'm like, what has occurred? What has occurred? I don't know where we pick these expressions up, but it's so funny. And so that'll probably be in my vocabulary now. What has occurred? But like if that hadn't happened, would this happen? And it's just, I think it's human nature. But it's also, is it real? Like, do you think it's some kind of domino effect like that, where everything has to stack up and it'd fall that way because it falls that way, I don't know. I think the what if thinking really does hold me back. Replaying moments of like towards the end of Paisley's life, if I would have given her medicine, right on time instead of an hour late, would she still be here? And it's like, it got really hard because you got to work and you got to pay for the medicine. So you can't be here with her all the time. And anyhow, it's just one of those things where you're just like blaming yourself a lot for the choices, or like questioning your choices, because you're like, would I end up here if I had done this? And it kind of plays mind games with you and makes you think that you have control. And I think I've talked about this on here before, but I really think that when humans, we want to be in control, but I really feel that the worst thing is to try to be in control. Like, I have not seen anyone prosper from that. Like when you have to control everything or feel in control of everything, something lacks, like you're either so high strung because you want to keep everything together and you know, you're tightly wound and you can't make all the pieces match or something, and then you're feeling like, oh, I couldn't do it, or I have to do it. And so you expend every ounce of energy just to make the two pieces come together, and you're exhausted and you lose sense of regular life and like relaxing, because that's like the most important thing, is to have control. And then like, in other relationships with people, it's like, if you have to have control of everything, then you're the only one who's right, because nobody else can be right, because you don't want to do what they're doing. You got to control what's going to be done. And then sometimes it's like, oh, I like their idea, so now it's going to become my idea, but I'm not going to tell them that they're right, that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It just, I don't think that we have control. I really don't. And I think the more you let go of that, life can become easier. But it is very much a human tendency to, want to be in the driver's seat. You're up to bat. Like when you think of all these things that we say, it's as if we're in control. It's like these expressions of, I'm going to make sure that I get it done the way it needs to be done. And I just think, I don't know. The brain looks for control when things hurt. I think that's another thing. I think there's an insecurity in control. I think if you're really secure in life and in yourself, your surroundings and where you are, and there's a lot of facets. So that's why I think everything has to feel secure. And I mean, life doesn't have a lot of security when it comes to in a certain time frame. Everything cannot be perfect. So like when you're insecure in one area, the control could still be out of whack, because you want to make sure that the rent gets paid and the car works and all the things. But sometimes if we just know that everything's going to work out and we let go of the tight grip on life, I think it all goes the way it's supposed to go. So it's hard, because then that goes back to, if we put too much control on things, are we affecting the outcome? And I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I have a hard time with control. I do have to make sure everything's in order in my life. Like right now we ran out of shredded cheese, and I had figured out everything for the weekend. That can't happen. Why did that happen? And I was so upset, because I had gone to the store and I got all the things we need, but I forgot the cheese. And it's like, big deal, but I like beat myself up for it. I'm very emotional right now, so I was crying. Like, why didn't I think of that? And it's like, we don't need cheese. You know what I mean? It's like, and so I think like, you can also blame yourself and like harm yourself, because there are things you can't control or things you forget, because you're human. And blaming others too can feel like control. Like if I place all of the reasons for this mishap on you, then I don't have to think about it anymore. I know that that's your fault, and it's a different kind of control, and it's not the truth really. Like, I don't know, the blaming others is definitely, I don't know, about 10 years ago, I figured out that that's not the story. Like, my perception of what occurred, what has occurred, is valid. But if I just sat here going, you did this to me, I'd be the one suffering. And because they don't see it like that. And a lot of the times there's more to the story. A lot of the times it's just in the past, and I don't want to deal in the past anymore. Like, I feel like once you go to therapy and you heal the majority of what you've got to heal, I mean, it's a never ending journey. Don't get me wrong. I know that, but like, I don't need to go into the past. Everything that I'm dealing with or have issue with is now. And I only have to clarify things about the past when people bring it up to me, or if they're trying to throw me under the bus. It's like, really? Do you remember what you did? And I hate that part. I don't want to go past and, go into the past and like drudge up crap just to like defend myself. And so a lot less defending myself is happening because it's like not worth it. And there's so many people that just would rather misunderstand you than be curious. And, and I'm also at a point where I'm curious, but I'm also like, you're going to say those horrible things to me and then want me to be curious about your life? Like, wow. Like, and then it's just supposed to be, we're family, so it's fine. I don't get that stuff. It's like not fine. It's not healthy. And I don't know. I have a good memory. So like, I could tell you about, the adult who asked me if I had money for a sandwich when I was 8. Like, what? Your parents didn't leave you any money? And it's like, I'm 8 years old. You're taking care of me. I remember that kind of stuff because it's a feeling of inadequacy or putting you down or making you feel on the spot. And like, and especially when you're young, it's like, whoa, what? And so like, I don't know. And it gets worse. Unfortunately, it gets worse when you get older because the veils come off and you start to see things, not in that rose-colored glasses state. You're like, wait a second. Did you just say what I think you just said? Or wait a second. The energy in this room feels real greedy right now. Like, what the hell? And there's just like different shifts that I feel. And it's like, oh God, I don't like this feeling. Like to me, it's like, And then, yeah. And then too, like, in recent events, there's just been things where it's like, unfortunately, this happened because that happened, so like a family problem occurred or whatever, or one person needs help in the family and it gets advertised to the whole family and then everyone comes rushing to help. And I just feel like, okay, everyone's coming to help. Okay, this is my family. And I didn't divulge a lot of information, but like I was tired and I was being my human self. And I did not think of the levels of manipulation or I didn't have my spidey senses on that any bad energy was happening or that anyone was like taking notes, or I was just venting and being myself. And then it was like one day later and it was like, holy crap, did they take my words and twist them into a million ways? And I can't get down with that anymore. Like I am so done. Like a person should be able to vent to their family without it getting twisted and turned into something mean to hurt another family member with. And yeah, so I just didn't realize that like it was still, you think you don't see these people for years. So you think, okay, there's growth and there's maturity and there's just sometimes there's not. And so then it's like crap. So we're in the same boat that we've been in. But it's also like not a surprise because you're like, oh, but it's also Like I'm just going in circles, but it's if this didn't happen, would I be here again? And so it's the butterfly effect is like all these little things. It's like, okay, what are the messages that I'm supposed to get from this? Like, I don't know. Like, if I had done one thing different, would my cat still be here, And like, that cat was like, she was the best. And then her predecessor was Percy. Is that the right word? Percy and the barn cats. You guys remember the barn cats? So Percy, Mama, Dolly Mama, Licorice, Banjo, and Cricket. Cricket was the last to arrive, little nugget. And Percy was the dad. And he's the one who actually saved me when I came to this property. Like, he was scared and he came to me and like, he brought his family and it was such a gift. And so I take that like, there's a huge effect that happened with him. And shortly after, Paisley passed away in June, I think. I can't even think, but last year. And November, Percy just went missing. He was just gone. And it turns out he was a lot older than we thought, maybe in his teens, and maybe late teens, to be honest. Because there was a brother who lived on the property here, and he remembers Percy for a lot longer than we thought. So I think he was just old and tired and probably walked off, but that was so devastating because he was my dude. He was the dude, man. We called him the dude, and he was just so lovely. And with all the ups and downs with Paisley, he came inside a bunch and loved on her when she was not feeling well, and he laid with her and was so sweet to her, and he was just the best. And then we found out, that it was coming from outside, the bacteria, and so then we had to change things and we had to put him back outside, and he was so upset with us, and I felt so bad. And when Paisley passed away, I tried to get him to come in, but he was so acclimated again with the boys, and they had so much fun. So I didn't want to mess that up, and he didn't really want to come in. So it all worked out, but it was really a tough one because, again, if that wouldn't have happened with Paisley, then he might have just been a second indoor cat with her. And I really loved him. But, needless to say, I'm not sure that he would have lived any longer. He was very healthy and he didn't do anything, crazy outside. And I don't know, but it's just hard to think, if I could have done this different, would this be different? And I don't know. You just wrestle with stuff, especially when it's things like that with cat health. And to me, they're family members. And I know it's like, it's a cat and it's outside. And of course it's going to have issues, but it's like, it's my family member and I pay attention to what's going on outside. I've protected them countless times, and we feed him. If there's anything wrong, we figure it out. I've helped Banjo with things in his paw, and I don't know. There's just a deep, deep connection with these cats that I am so grateful for, and if you do it the opposite way, the butterfly effect, backwards and the good things, if we didn't move here, we wouldn't have them in our lives. And now we only have Cricket and Banjo, but I mean, it's a life force. It's a energy. It's a blessing. And it's just something that I'm so grateful for. And I get nervous because they're outside, but they love it outside. And I was going to find a way to box them in and make sure they're safe. And then I watch them run across the field and go, oh God, I can't do that to them. So it's one of those things that I've talked about so much on here. It's just the price of, of love is sometimes loss or sometimes not feeling safe, like they're not okay. but the best thing for them is not to be caged up. And so maybe in a couple years, depending on what happens in life, things are kind of nuts with our living situation too. But we're trying to figure that all out. But if we get to stay here, yeah, maybe their retirement home life will be more safe, and they can retire from running around and still give them like a catio to still run around in, but like a safe place, because there's stuff around here, man. There's bear poop out there. I found that yesterday, and I haven't seen one yet, but there are so many critters. They're so fun to watch, and I've been so blessed to be here. And so that's another thing, is like, if we never got to come here, that would have been a big lot, like I wouldn't have known the difference. But I mean, it's a huge part of my life to go outside here and take photos, and I put poetry with my photos, and I started up my page again. A harmless plug, I guess, but I have Instagram and I think Facebook too. It's connected, and it's Simple Girl Inspired Poetry is what it's called now. So Simple Girl Inspired Poetry, and I just get inspired by pictures, and then I've been writing a lot of dark stuff because I've been really sad and disappointed in relationships and just what people say they are and then what they end up doing. And it's like, whatever. I don't really care. Just don't criticize me. I'm not criticizing you. Anyways, I just, I don't understand that. Yeah. I'm just telling someone all their worst things, and then having like some kind of a limit to how many times someone could have a hard time. That's hard for me. It's like, I've never, if someone tells me they need me, or someone expresses that I should be somewhere, I do what I can to get there. And when I'm not told, and there's been times in my past where I've been a little shit. I'm not going to lie about that. I was going through some major stuff, didn't answer my phone, what have you. But I still think, you should be told. And sometimes you can't be, I don't know, love languages, or like even just how people are different. Like everyone's different. And so I feel like it's really hypocritical to expect someone to show up the way you want them to show up if you're not willing to show up the way they want you to show up. And so I try not to have like expectations on how people should love me. But it's real funny to watch so much come back at you, and like, you should be doing this and your life should be better. And like, and it's like, I never would say that to you. I would never, and of course there's things that we all judge about other people. I'm not saying I don't judge people. It's just that I would never put my opinions and my judgments ahead of the love and the care of someone else. Like, why would I want to degrade a person that I supposedly love? So anyways, again, off topic, but yeah, so it's just a crazy thing to think about. If this hadn't happened this way, would I still be at this place? And I don't believe I would be sitting in this living room right now with the beautiful, gorgeous view, and the sun's about to go down. I don't think I would be here had I not gone through the stuff. And so, it's a blessing, but it's also, there's been a lot of turmoil here too, that doesn't need to go. I don't need to go into any of that, but it's just, there's bittersweet to everything. And I love bittersweet chocolate personally. And so I get a little frustrated when it's like, just tell me what's good. Don't tell me what's bad. And it's just frustrating too, because I think, someday hopefully someday I will have made something of myself. I'm got some poetry books that I published, and I have another one coming out in June, and um I have a story that I want to finish and actually send out to publishers and things and see about doing it through a publishing house or something like that. But I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, and I haven't had energy to do recently because of everything that's been going on since January. But there's just been a lot of things to tackle and heavy emotions. And then the Noah Kahan album came out. Kahan, how you ever say it. The Great Divide. And if you want to just keep crying, I mean, he taps into everything that I'm thinking about, and it's crazy. It's just like his album is like the theme of my inner psyche right now. So, yeah, and I stare at the sun a lot. So if you listen to his album, you understand that. But anyways, it just reminds me of that Marilyn Monroe quote where it's like, if you don't accept me at my worst, then why should you get my best? It's that kind of idea of like, if you can't be there to support along the hard parts, then why would you be there at the positive moments? Like, it seems not right. I don't know. And like, it's just a weird thing to not be there for someone in their darkest moments and only want the positive moments. I only want to know what's good in your life. And like, that's just not humanity to me. That's not truth. That's toxic positivity. And it just feels disingenuous. And if that's going to be a deal breaker, that's a deal breaker. But I'm kind of done, limiting myself to one feeling for certain people. I want to be the same person in every group. It's like a huge thing right now for me. And like, oh my goodness. The theme of people turning into dollar signs as they get old is very prevalent. And then just everything being dollar signs. Everybody talking about money and like future and like also as if we're all going to die. Like, I don't mean to be morbid, but like, Paul is the youngest in his family. And I still feel pretty young. I'm 45. Like, I have a lot more I need to do and want to do. And so, I don't know. There's just like so much talk about like the end or like retirement and things like that, which everyone should be thinking about for sure. I'm not good at that. Never have been. I hope to be someday. But it's just like a very dark topic, just like the curtains closing, and it's like, no, we're not there yet, not even in the least. But it's just, I don't know. And it's just, environment does shape your mind, and what you focus on focuses on you. All that stuff is true. And I had a good like week and a half where I was positive as hell. I made it a point every morning when I woke up, I was like, this is going to be an awesome day. And I'm so happy. And I'm not kidding. My mom and I worked together during the week, and we made more money that week than any other week. And I don't think that's a, coincidence. I think that you shape your reality. I totally get that all the time. And like, I don't want to be sad all the time. I'm like the happiest person when I'm happy. And like, I don't know. I get so frustrated because it's like, if someone's asking you for help, or someone's telling you I'm sad and I'm reaching out, or like, you talk to someone and they're down, why is that such a problem? If it was reversed, you'd want them to, say, oh, I'm so sorry. I hope I can, what can I do to help, or whatever, And so unless you're an island and you don't want to have anyone talk to you ever, which some people are that, they just want to be out on their own and not deal. And that's fine. Again, I don't care. Everyone do exactly what you want. Just don't tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. That's so frustrating. Like, so frustrating. Everyone should be able to live exactly as they want to live. And if they're sad, why are you going to take that away from them? And why is that so frustrating to you? That's so weird. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I don't. And I'm having a hard time with that. But I just get kind of angry. Like, I don't know. Just I've been there for a lot of people, and I don't like to ask for help. And so people know that, and they've said you should reach out for help, whatever. And so then when I do, it's inconvenient and it's uncomfortable, and so no. And so it's like, that's fine, but then just don't ever tell me to ask for help, or act like you're there for me, because you're not. And then don't get mad at me if I'm not there next time, because, it gets old, it gets tiring, and I don't know. And then it's like, and then I'm sitting here on this podcast and they'll be like, oh my God, there she goes complaining again. And it's like, I'm not complaining. I'm expressing facts of what I feel. And it's just, the gaslighting thing too. It's like reality check, like what is actually happening and what do they want you to think is happening? Those are sometimes not the same thing. And so anyways, back to the topic at hand. There's so many facets to life, and sometimes it can feel like it's a puzzle piece situation where you're just like, if I just find this one piece, then everything's going to be fine or perfect, or, put in whatever adjective you'd like, but it doesn't really work like that. And so I don't know that if you take the piece out, if that really means that everything's going to fall apart, or that the puzzle will never be filled, or done, I should say. I just don't, I don't know. And I keep wondering, like, if I caused this, like, if my choice to do A, B, or C is the reason that I'm here struggling with E, F, G, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I don't think we control that. I really don't. I don't believe that we control our destiny. I think that we make choices that help the destiny, but I don't know. And there's this other thing that kept coming up recently that was, so God. So I have a hard time with God. I don't know why. I think it was the religious stuff when I was a kid. I don't know. But I've decided that it's easier to pray to God. And so God, to me, God as a person I don't know. To me, has to be so much more spiritual and like broader than a person, like a man up there. So God to me is the giver of destinies. That's what I've determined it to stand for. It came up that the giver of destinies, God, he does not give you strength if you ask for strength. He gives you what will make you strong. So all of these trials and tribulations are what I asked for, because I wanted to be stronger and grow. And so that concept was something helpful, is that, there's more to the destiny part of it. So like, to me, maybe what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to end up and everything is all predetermined, but we do have choices, and we do make, certain changes in life that maybe take longer to get to that destiny. But I feel like it's predetermined. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like it always makes sense after a while. Like this has been a long 5-year stretch of not much sense yet, to be honest. We were in another car accident this February, so that's not been that long ago, and it was another drunk, intoxicated person, and my mom's car was totaled, and needless to say, it's been just a horrible time that created other horrible times. And so there again is, if that didn't happen, other hardships may not have happened. And so why can't we just undo that? But then you go, look at everything that I gain and look at how I can talk right now. Instead of just cry. I did cry at the beginning, but I have a lot more, I have a lot more strength. I have a lot more discernment of what I need to feel. And I cry a lot though. I do. I'm just a big crier, and I don't feel that it's good to not cry if you need to cry. So if that was really what I needed to feel right now, then I would let myself cry. But there are less times when I feel like I need to cry, if that makes sense. I still allow for it anytime that it happens, because I feel when we suppress anything, it is harmful, so harmful. Later, even if you think it's not, it catches up with you, man. And I also think that acceptance is huge. And that's why I'm leaning towards, this butterfly effect. I'm thinking that small things definitely matter. I feel like little things push you towards choices that change your life. And not all of it is in our control, which again, I don't know if any of it is in our control, but I don't believe that I'm the butterfly causing chaos. I don't think that it was my fault, I don't think that, because that's the other piece, is my feelings about what happened can create things. And so then I'm like, well, if I wouldn't have, been so unconsolable after the car crash, would we have had to do this or that? And so then you try and put it on your feelings or your reaction to things. And it's like, no, because again, if you suppress things in the moment, other bad things will occur. I just know that. So, I've seen it. You can't suppress your emotions, but I'm definitely not the butterfly causing chaos. I want to make myself that. And so a lot of the times, and say sorry to everyone. And I'm the bad guy and all that. And there's just, it's not healthy. And I've recently read the book, The 4 Agreements again. Highly recommend it. The 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Use your words with honesty and care, especially toward yourself. Don't make assumptions. What other people say and do is about them, not you. Do not take anything personally. Don't fill in the blanks with the worst case scenarios. And always do your best. Show up as best as you can, knowing your best changes from day to day. It's a huge thing to just focus on 4 agreements instead of all the self-help stuff. It's been a little, bit of a game changer to just focus on those 4 things. But you have to bring yourself back to it, and it's a practice, and I'm not perfect. But I went through and I figured out, what my agreements are that are harming me. And that was a huge thing. We can adhere to new agreements, but if we don't realize that there's some agreements we need to chip off and get them to go away, the new ones won't stick. So I'm always the bad guy. I'm too sensitive. There's something wrong with me. Avoiding is a weakness. I don't do enough. I'm the common denominator, so I must be the problem. My complex feelings complicate everything. I should know my place and stay in it. My poetry and creative aspirations don't matter. All of those things are things I say to myself a lot. And so now I want to change it to: other people's narratives don't define who I am. My feelings are valid and I'm learning to hold them. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm responding to hard things. Strong people know what's worth their energy. My value isn't measured by how much I produce. I notice patterns. That doesn't make me the problem. I don't need to shrink my feelings to make things easier for anyone. I'm allowed to take up space and have a voice in my own life. And my voice matters even if it reaches one person. So that was a huge thing too, is to realize that, you could start reading something and try and implement it into your life. But if you're just stacking that on top of stuff that's not working, and you don't, kind of like a garden where you put the fertilizer, but you never took out the weeds, you got to weed. So that was a really good exercise, is to figure out what agreements I've made that are harming myself. Because, man, I don't know. Everyone's like, life isn't as hard as you make it. But I swear it is hard. And I don't think people talk about it enough. And that's why I'm here, is to just lay it all out. And the thing about being creative and vulnerable is that you think about these things. Your imagination is wide open, and you think about what if all the time. What if I make this thing too? It could be real positive. What if I create something new or whatever? But the piece that's so important is the vulnerable part, because when you can open the door to something that's hard within you, you invite others to open up their doors. And I just feel like we get so nervous about being accepted, so we close everything down and close everything up. And I go through phases with that. I'm not going to say that I'm always an open book anymore, because you got to be careful. But I do feel that when you're with the right people, being vulnerable is the most important thing that we can do. Because when we're prideful, or our ego is just in our head saying all the wrong things, boosting us up. Because that's the thing too, is there was another thing I heard about recently. It was a quote saying that people could throw manure at you, or dirt. Actually, I'm sorry, not manure. People can throw dirt at you, and people can throw flowers at you, but none of it matters. None of it matters. So the flowers don't matter, and the dirt doesn't matter, because if you're a garden, then you're choosing what to keep, And so, yeah, it was pretty interesting, because it's just basically saying that, don't believe the good stuff either. All the puffing you up, and all your successes, that's great and everything, but you can go too far the other way with that too. And the whole pride thing too, having a chip on your shoulder about what you've done or where you've been, all of that, everyone has their story. Not to compare, not like that, but it's just be even keel with it. You know what I mean? You don't have to be look what I have done. You can just be confident in what you've done. Your garden will speak for itself. You don't need to show how many flowers were brought there by others. And you don't need to talk about the dirt that didn't matter, the criticisms that came and all of that. You just need to focus on growing. It was very cool. It was online, so I can't take credit for it, but I'm not sure who said it. So, but it wasn't mine. Just very cool metaphor. But yeah, so I don't believe that the butterfly effect is true. I think, or I guess true is not I just don't think that it's, in conclusion, I don't think it's a great way to think. I don't think that it's fair to you to think if you wouldn't have done this, then this would have been different. It's very easy to do. It's very human to do. We all do it and think the what ifs or what have you, but like it's kind of a prison in your mind because acceptance of what is so much more fulfilling. If you can just be where your feet are, as Jason Mraz would sing, and just know that you're doing your best, that you're impeccable with your word, that you're not making assumptions, and what's that other one? That you are not taking anything personally. That's pretty much it. But it's easy to it's kind of a comfort to go back and say, I wish it could be different. If I didn't do this, maybe she'd still be here. Or if I didn't do this, maybe he wouldn't be mad at me. Or if I didn't do this, maybe everything would have turned out all right. And it's a weird comfort to have something to think about and marinate on. But I also think that it does a very big disservice because it's negating what is. And what is what's supposed to be. I do believe that. I think destiny is written. We make choices to get there. But ultimately, like when you keep learning the same lesson, I don't know if anyone's had that where it's like, why am I having to go through this again? Because I just went through that, like the car accident, like that we just had again. It's like, why do I have to go through this again? And so, I don't know. Maybe there wasn't, something learned the first time that I need to learn from this time. Or maybe it's not about me, but now my mom was with me. And so maybe it gives her more of an understanding about what I'm going through. Or maybe the shared bond is supposed to help us with something. But all of it happens over and over again to get you to the same end result. And so I think if you keep going through the same types of things, it's because you haven't learned the lesson you're supposed to learn yet to get you to the final destiny. Like, I don't know. I believe in all that stuff. I believe in magic and innocence and wonder. And I am so grateful that I do because I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I can 100% tell you that because there are days when I don't feel that I can go on. And if I go outside and look at the trees and the birds and the cats and I find something to take a picture of, I remember why I love this life. So I'm grateful that those things exist for me because it's so important to have something to keep you here. And so if one small thing could have changed everything, then maybe one small thing today still can. You can look at it that way too. So like whenever you think, oh, what if that could have happened or this or that? Well, what if today you choose this way and it works out for the best? It's not a conclusion, but an intention. And I think sometimes we get so lost in, what could be instead of what is and accept what is, because what is awesome. But it's the not accepting it that makes it harder than it needs to be. And so just figuring out how to navigate that and what is sometimes isn't pretty. And so what does that mean? And what can you do? What do you need to change? What do you need to grow, get better at? But I do believe that we're all meant to have a good destiny and end up where we're supposed to be. There's magic in life. I really do believe it. And just because these 5 years that I've been talking about have been very difficult with things I'm sure I'll share, in the future, doesn't mean that I'm not going to ever have a place where I can feel relaxed and get to create and do more of the things I like to do. I do feel that we all end up at a place where at least for a little bit, you can enjoy the fruits of life and not just be in survival mode, just struggling. Yeah. So I would love to hear what you think. If you're on Instagram in the comments, or you can instant message me or what have you, but I would love to know what your thoughts are on the butterfly effect, if you believe in it, or, what you think about it. But it is something that happens to me a lot, of the what ifs. And especially with loss and grief, it's really hard to get over stuff like that. It's like, yeah, there's been so many people that are gone now that were my favorite people, in the last 5-10 years, and they're just gone. And you're just like, oh. And then there's so many people that are still here that are my favorite too. So you just got to enjoy them and appreciate, while you can. And yeah, I don't know. Life is long to me. I feel like I've lived like 50 lifetimes. I don't know. The chapters of life are very, if I were to write them all down, it seems like a few different books, like, I don't know. It's funny. When I asked my grandma, is life short? And she said, yes. Or I said, is life short, or is life long or short to you? How do you feel? Because she's 91. And so if anyone could tell me, but she said it felt short to her, even 91 years old. So I think I don't know. I think I've just, the depth of feeling can really tire you out, like she said something the other day. She said, everything that comes into my ears goes out. Everything that comes into one ear goes out the other for me. She said, that's why I've lived so long, is I don't hold on to nothing. And it's good advice. It's good advice. But man, I have a inventory. I've got receipts. It's hard for me to let go. So lots to work on. But yeah. So it's been interesting to go through this topic and then go off tangents and all that. But it's good to talk to you all again. And I thank you for listening and for being here. And I hope to do this on a more weekly basis. I have lots of ideas, and I would love your feedback. So I have that. I actually have Heavy Boots Instagram. So the Instagram page for this podcast is called Heavy Boots Life. So Heavy Boots Life on Instagram. And that's where you could put, any questions, comments, or any ideas. And if anyone ever wants to come and chat, if we could do a Zoom, we could figure it out. I would love to talk to people and not just hear my own silly voice the whole time. But I'm just glad to be back at it and thinking about life and feelings and unpacking some of those heavy boots. I appreciate you and hope that life is treating you kind, that whatever is, bringing you down is not something that overtakes you, and that you understand that it's going to get better, because I promise you it does. And it might, just go back and forth for a while, but it always gets better. There's always a reason to stay, to be here on earth. There is. Find that for yourself. Find what makes you happy to be living and embrace that, and know that your life matters, that, you were put here for a reason. There's no reason, there's a huge reason that you are here. There's no reason to doubt that, is what I was going to say. Like, why else would you be here? Why would you come from the stars if you weren't meant to be here? And people count on you, animals count on you, even just your smile in this grocery store. Even when you think you're not making a difference, your absence would make a huge difference. And so stay. Just be here and reach out if you need to. You can always call 988 if you need any kind of help, because life is hard, and that's okay to say. I'm tired of pretending that it's not. And it's different for everyone, and it depends on what you're dealing in. So just love everybody and accept them for who they are. Stay you. This podcast was written and recorded by Jennie Camille. The song that you hear at the beginning and end of the podcast is called Be Still the Earth by Away We Go. Psst. Are you still here? Oh my gosh. Hi. So I do this little thing that if you stay past the ending credits, I put a little nugget of something. And so last time I did a cute story of an acorn, and oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for whoever listened. And it reminded me that I need to put that into a children's book. What do you guys think? I might even put it up as a little flip through on Instagram, like a little, I should do an illustration. And because it's such a good parable, it's such a good moral story, I thought it was really cute, and I forgot all about it until I went back and listened. So for today's little ending, I thought I might just read a poem. Let's see. I'm going to pick at random. So, yep, this is perfect. So in the vein of oak trees, here is an oak tree poem. Lone oak, guardian of wisdom, evokes quiet rhythm. All it takes to persevere, all it took to stand your ground. One tiny seed put you here, desolate with no others around. And yet you thrive, enjoy your own company. You've got a whole world inside, an internal, full-on symphony. Awe-inspiring, untouched land you feel privileged to be on. Unpaved roads near farm stands, astonishing sunsets and dewy dawns. Tradition carried like the seed that brought you here, or maybe buried by a bird who forgot where he hid it. Come winter, it will seemingly just disappear. Come spring, a seedling feels the sun and rises to meet it. Mystery solved, no longer a food source. With the years, you'll evolve into an undeniable force, steadfast, full of grace, long last, the sacred space, the proof of life you hold within, the shady spot you've given, inspiration weaved into your roots. I love all trees, but nothing like your attributes. Mighty oak, strength provoked, want to be like you, standing tall through it all. Standing tall through it all. Yeah.